that I've known Pitman for 50 years. I know Pitman in and out, I think. I know Pitman intimately well. And I thought it was important that I came up from London this evening to share some of these small thoughts that I know about Pitman with you. I am Pitman's youngest brother. My name is Joseph. Our middle brother, Carl, was on holiday, booked a year ago, but he's hurtling down the road from East Midlands Airport because he wanted to be here as well. He'll get here. I need to tell you a short story, and I'll tell it with as much modesty as I can, because that's characteristic of the man. I can tell you that in the 60s, Theo, my favorite, along with this one here, Mr. Manley, but I can tell you that in the 60s, when Jamaicans were regarded as a pest and a nuisance in this community, when black people were thought of as some sort of strange, less than equal species, my brother Pitman hired what was the Palais on St. Answell Road, not there in quite the same shape now. Yeah. He had an orchestra of 30 musicians for whom he'd composed pieces, and he conducted them to a full house in the 1960s. This was my image. This was my image of what ordinary black people should do. Not extraordinary, because Pitman slept in the room beside mine, had breakfast every day. This was what I saw growing up as the example of what ordinary black people could and should do. My earliest social recollections outside the house were kids at school thought I was a lunatic because I was talking about Lumumba and Nkrumah, okay, as a little boy, because that's the home I grew up in. Unfortunately, my mother had an opinion about all these things, but she wasn't graced with the education to know much about it. It mostly came from Pitman. Pitman introduced me to a whole range of music, everything from good Jamaican music right through classical music, the inspiration and the love I got from my brother. And it doesn't end in the 60s.
Before his brother, a little bit more. We have heard what has happened in Nottingham. Now we have heard what has happened even in London, as far as Whitehall and beyond. Let's put our hands together and recognize one of our own Nottingham greats, Pitman Browne. Pitman, we salute you. We truly salute you, sir. Thank you ever so much. Thank you ever so much. All right, you may be seated. Now we've come to that special moment where we say to Pitman, not only in our words and our poems,
stuff to read way beyond my years, and then guess what? Quizzed about it. Were of Pitman either as chairman or secretary of the West Indian Students Association in the 60s. a highly progressive group of people, many of whom have gone on to have superb careers. But Pitman was at one stage the chairman and always was the cultural dynamo behind that organization. As a 6-year-old, I think I was 5, I remember going to an entire evening of music, drama, theater, and poetry arranged by this man, my brother, in the 1960s. I've got the pamphlet at home with all these people who have now gone on to careers with Jamaica Broadcasting Company and so on the cast that night, all organized by Pitman. And because I was you'd best just understand, I was a little bit of a nuisance in my time as a little boy. So Pitman had me learning and reciting poetry at the age of 7 and 8. And those of you who know Jamaican literature will know that Louise Bennett is the queen of Jamaican poetry. Because of Pitman, this naughty little Jamaican and other friends here in Nottingham that Pitman again had organized. And in a funny way, I say that because I tell you those stories because what you see now in terms of Pitman's contribution isn't an accident. It's not happenstance. It didn't just crop up in some strange way. This has been Pitman's life mission, to express ideas in beautiful music, to express ideas in mellifluous words, and to express ideas with passion, deep passion. Because these poems don't just arise. Well, no, they do arise, but let me tell you how they arise. They arise in the same way that the music arises, practice. Every little dance that you're encouraged to do, every little poem you're encouraged to write, and the practice you put into it is what will make you great in a way you won't understand, because the result isn't obvious from the process. And because I've hijacked your schedule a little bit, I'll try and close quickly with the acknowledgement of a debt. The acknowledgement, Theo, of a debt. My life is stranger than most of you would believe. I sometimes don't fully appreciate the full extent of my blessings or my privilege. I'll tell you that for 10 years I was Tony Blair and Gordon Brown's primary advisor on regeneration in this country. I worked in the office of the Deputy Prime Minister. I left Whitehall and government as a companion of the Order of the Bath, a CB which they give to senior civil servants and the military in this country. Somebody said Pitman, I think this last lady who spoke, Pitman, man of letters. I was given an honorary doctorate by Westminster University. And I thought about this, and as I've thought about all these situations I've ended up in a life, very, very kindly graced by God, and God placed me in the care and company of some special individuals. I think we both owe a debt, a deep debt, to our mother, who inspired both of us in terms of values but just by example also. But the special care that I was placed into was into Pitman's hands. So I found myself in the company of exalted people. I found myself in the company of, to be honest, I don't even want to say it. It's ridiculous. Ridiculously exalted people. Preposterous. There are places I've been to in this country that, good English people would die to get to. And on most occasions, if I'm true to myself, I've never really been overawed, because I was the subject of practice and preparation. I could read long before I went to school because of Pitman. I was taken to Ella Fitzgerald, Count Basie, Ray Charles, a massive cultural program at the age of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I was taken to London to the planetarium at the age of 11. I was given